The Weekly, hosted by the editors of Building, Design, and Construction, starts now. A fast-paced live presentation of news and innovation, brought to you by Horizon TV.
Hi, I'm Tony Mancini, and welcome to The Weekly, featuring the editors of Building, Design, and Construction. In our first segment, Rob Cassidy talks to Brad Hunter about his mid-year report around the key segments and how it looks both short and long term. Rob, off to you.
Thanks very much, Tony. Well, I'm here with Brad Hunter, who's with RCLCO Real Estate Advisors. They've just done a big report on the situation in the real estate industry, particularly with 5 major sectors. And we're going to explore each one of those sectors as we get into it. But first, Brad, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here.
Good to be here.
Your company does something like what the Conference Board does and what AIA does with its Architectural Buildings Index. You have something called the RMI. What is that? What's the RMI?
Sure. The RMI is an index of real estate market index of sentiment in the real estate development industry.
Mm-hmm.
And we developed it here at RCLCO. It's a survey of the top commercial real estate executives, mostly developers, and 40% of them are C-suite, and another 40% of the respondents are high-level executives in these companies. So
Okay.
It's a look from the highest levels.
It gives you a feel for what they're saying about the industry. Okay. All right. So what's a good number for any sector? What's a good number to be at if on your RMI?
So if you're in the range of 60 or so, that's a nice, healthy, fast-growing real estate market.
Okay, and where are we now?
9.
9.
Not 19, not 29. Yeah, I mean it was a plunge, and nobody will be surprised, right? The RMI went down from close to 65 prior to this at the end of 2019 to 9.2. That's the current reading. Now we also have a future index,
Yeah.
future RMI.
Yeah, and what's that?
The future RMI is at 36.8. Now
Yeah.
that's looking 12 months out. We ask people, what do you think is going to be going on in a year? So the current level, 36, 37, is consistent with some continued declines in market fundamentals, but also the beginnings of recovery, at least in a few sectors within a year. And we're barely above the level of that index that would be associated with a recession.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's look at 5 specific sectors: retail, hospitality, office, multifamily rental, and industrial. Let's start off with the real dog in the race here, retail. How bad is it at retail?
Sure. Well, the retail sector was mostly seen by our respondents to be in full decline. That was the choice that they had on the survey. And this was done in June of this year, so it's very recent. But as we all know, retail is not retail, right? There's a big difference between different types. For example, there's a wide variation between secondary regional malls. You don't want to be number 2, considered to be in the worst shape of all, and grocery-anchored community neighborhood centers, which are viewed as holding up the best.
So these are kind of like strip centers, right? I mean, is that what we're talking about? Kind of. Yeah. And they're doing okay. They're doing okay.
Well, people need food and they need toilet paper. Now, granted, you can get your food and toilet paper delivered to you nowadays, but still, those centers are holding up well because they tend to be sort of the daily necessities of life.
Okay. All right.
So,
let's go on to hospitality. So we're talking basically hotels and restaurants.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the findings that I personally think is the most striking out of our report is that respondents believe that the hospitality sector is approaching or at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Luxury and resort hotels were the most commonly believed to be in full decline or at the bottom. The largest number of respondents, I should say, believe that recovery will begin within a year in the hotel business. We're seeing some data that somewhat supports that, improving those still historically low hotel occupancy rates, increasing TSA checkpoint travel data that indicates that Americans are beginning to travel again, but again, still at levels far below that of previous years. And, with hotels, it kind of reminds me of the old saying, you can't fall off the floor.
Okay. All right. So let's look at office buildings and workplace.
Yeah. So the office market.
Yeah, we got the work from home situation. We've got, lots of stuff going on.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big factor. The office market is still seen as being in decline or hitting the bottom. And there are varying opinions among participants as to the chances of recovery within a year. It's a much more spread out distribution of opinions that came back in our survey. For example, 25% think Class A offices will be in a full downturn a year from now, and 14% said that they'll be in early recovery. The wild card is, as you said, work from home. Will this be a lasting trend, or will people want to flock back to their offices?
But they're still getting, the owners are still collecting rent fairly well, aren't they?
I mean, it's depressed, obviously, compared to normal, but things have started to improve. Offices for medical and life sciences, by the way, are still in great shape. The good news is overall is that recent data indicates that office rent collections in the private open-end fund world actually improved in June and are above 91% collected. So yeah,
Okay. All right.
You're right.
Okay. Let's talk about a little bit more positive things. Multifamily rental buildings and industrial. Industrial, that's well, do multifamily first.
Okay. Multifamily rental apartments are holding up very well so far in this crisis, but there are concerns about rent collections that have been very high lately, continuing after some of the government relief programs start to expire.
Right.
There's a lot of people that are making less income now.
Right.
Some of them lost their jobs, and some of them are getting that $600 extra unemployment benefit now, and that's very much in question. That's set to expire at the end of this month. We'll see whether it gets extended in some way or at some level. But in our survey, multifamily is believed to be at the bottom already and is expected to be in or near an improving status in a year's time.
Okay, and let's talk about the star of the whole real estate industry, industrial buildings. I can just see all these architects wanting to go and study how to build a cold storage facility.
Well, that's right. Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. Food delivery is booming, right? So industrial as a sector is actually doing better now because of the crisis.
Yeah.
And again, it's just due to increased demand for deliveries during the lockdown. Cold storage, as you said, and last mile warehousing are particularly strong. We have this graph in our report that I understand you're making available to your viewers.
Yes.
Called the stage of cycle graph, and it shows kind of like bars showing where we are in the cycle by sector. And industrial shot all the way across the entire graphic to the other side, and it makes for a very dramatic illustration of what's going on.
Data centers look good. I mean, it's a booming market. All right, real briefly, 10 or 15 seconds, the view ahead. How bad does it look?
Tougher times for B and C apartments, but continued strength in A. We've got to watch the H-1B visa cancellations. Is that going to hit areas that rent to foreign nationals? Retail will continue to see challenges. Watch for opportunities to reorient space in new ways. Take retail and do something else with it, maybe residential. And then also watch for more horizontal multifamily and built for rent. We're seeing that really taking off.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you very much. Brad Hunter from RCLCO. Thanks for your time here today, and we'll make that document available to our readers.
Great. Thank you very much.